Well, guys, welcome back to the boat. We're in chapter 2, unofficially, which is called The Shipmate. Two
Yeah.
boats. Two boats.
Name of the name of the chapter is Two Boats. Shipmate is the theme. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Tell me about washing nets, because that's kind of like the first portion of the chapter.
Yeah. Washing nets. So there's a story in the Bible, Luke, in the New Testament, chapter 5, I believe. You could probably have the reference for me, but it's where Peter, who was a lead fisherman, went out to sea with his crew and just went fishing and were out all day, all night, and just didn't catch anything. And I think on the early morning, just returning. I don't know if all the timing's right, but it felt like that when I was reading it. And just to give a little backdrop of the story, they were bringing their boats in. So I'm like visually imagining the boats coming in. They're tired, and the nets are what they used. They used to have these big, nets where multiple guys have to grab it, throw it in and bring it in. But when you go out fishing, I can imagine it just probably gets dirty. It catches a bunch of rubbish or leaves or seaweed or whatever it grabs. And when you come in, you have to wash it and clean it and get it ready and wrap it up and put it away so you can, be ready the next time you go out fishing and it's cleansed, it's ready to go. And that really connected with me because I'm a tradesman, and so as a tradesman, as a carpenter, I know what it's like to just, spend hours and hours and hours working, and at the end of the day, how exhausted you are, and you didn't meet your goal for the day. Yeah. And you just want to stay longer, but there's no more time. The sun's getting ready to set. You got to get home, and, you have to put away everything. And I empathize with that feeling of just knowing that exhaustion, disappointment, and then having to spend like an hour putting away things.
It's almost like a double.
It is. It's a double whammy. Yeah. And you just clock out. And I don't mean clock out for the day. You clock out mentally, physically, exhausted, and even more so, these guys didn't catch any fish. I can't even imagine like working all day and have zero return. So it's like if your boss says, "Hey, here's your day wage. Go out there, bust your tail, and if you don't do this one thing, you're not getting anything." And that's really what happened. They didn't get their day's wage, nothing. So they went out, worked, and put in all their sweat and tears, came back, and didn't even get paid for it. And so I really empathize with that. Washing nets, to me, to answer your question and into the context of the book, was a time as a business owner in our business where I felt like them putting in that exhaustion, that energy, and I felt like giving up is almost like clocking out. Yeah. Is almost like a giving up. And washing the nets became just a metaphor of putting my hat up on the hook and calling it one, man. Like, that's what washing the nets was. It's like, okay, there's no fish. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm giving all my energy, all my time. I'm clocking out. I'm mentally clocking out. So that's what washing your nets is.
On the timeline of the business, Richie, this was meant in the book. It's mentioned 2014. Your third.
Put a date in there. Yeah.
Your third year of business. Would you think that the third year, just in any business, is one of the toughest ones? Or what year do you think it starts to be like, hey, this is reality, like, is setting in? Do we continue this thing, or do we, what do we do?
Yeah, that's interesting you said that, because true story, I was on my second year and we went back to Illinois. And I got to see a lot of family and friends, and I was super excited and proud to share with a lot of my family and peers that I started a business. It was exciting for me. I was very proud of myself, and there was certain peers and family members that their feedback meant the world to me, right? And so even more so sharing, something very important, valuable, and you're starting and you're going. And I'm like year 2, so I'm even more excited. Like I survived year 1, and I was talking to one of my my mom's best friend's husband, and he's a successful business owner, and just very, looking at what he was able to accomplish and what he's done and sustained. I was really excited to hear any input he had, and he was like, year 2 is the hardest. That's what he said. So it's interesting you said that, and I was like, I didn't get it. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, taxes. Oh. And I was like, what do you mean taxes? Like, he was like, a lot of times when you go through year 1 and you're in year 2, going into year 3, you don't realize what's coming with the taxes and how to survive it.
Wow.
And then it's hard for businesses to get over that hump, or they're just going to continue and not actually grow, because growth, you have to understand how to survive taxes. And that was his input. And I was just like, I have no clue what you're talking about. We're all good,
yeah.
But yeah, in 2014, it was year 3, and taxes were becoming part of that conversation. But I think more so, it was, I was trying to do everything. I was Peter on the boat, out there fishing with the fishermen and guys who came along. But, I was exhausted. I was swinging hammer. I was picking up materials. I was sleeping at Home Depot we had worked nights until like 3 a.m, drive to Home Depot. I'd have my crew with me. A couple guys would go to sleep, wake up at 5 when it opens, pick up materials, go. I mean, we were just doing everything we can to finish the job. And the entrepreneur in me was like making deals with the guys that if we don't finish it, we don't get paid. It's a partner paid, not hourly. So everyone was invested, which was good. And that's how we survived. But, it just wasn't like your ideal business in its infant days. And it was just getting exhausting, man. Like, I had energy. I was in my 30s and all these things, but even then it can catch up with you mentally and all these things. So in 2014, and to answer your question, man, it's, I think if you want to be a business and grow and sustain and scale, I think year 3, you got to survive. Like, year 3 is a big year. If you can get over that hump and continue to grow, like, yeah, we can go under the radar and just keep going and call ourselves a business, but to really get over that hump, man, it's challenging.
That's crazy, because when there's always going to be humps, right? Whatever you want to call them, but taxes is a huge one, because I'm just thinking in my mind, if a business in their first year sees the ROI and all the money that's coming in, but then suddenly you realize, oh man, like 30-40% of this has to go to tax or whatever it is, it's like that makes you feel kind of maybe demoralizes you.
Yeah,
with that amount of money.
I think the greatest challenge in the tradesman world, that's the business. We're running a construction business. It was when you have the heart to do it right, you have insurances you got to pay, you have taxes, state taxes you got to pay, you have payroll taxes you got to pay. And so there's just a lot of fees, man, to survive risky business as construction. And so just understanding those costs, number one, but then as you grow, understanding how those fees and taxes grow with you. And when they're due is that point of no return if you don't know what you're doing or what you're getting into. And so, first business, construction business, I mean, trying to survive and understanding where it's going and just getting backlogged on taxes. And just let me share this too, just a vulnerability, man. Like the first year, I think revenue in 2012 was like $35K. But then you look at expenses and everything else, I had zero money in my pocket, man. Like that was just the revenue, And so thankfully, like we didn't hit anything. We're able to collect food stamps. I mean, that's just, we were in survival mode, barely making rent. Like, why are we doing this? Like just go back to work, Richie. I mean, my wife didn't say it like that. She was in partner with me, but it's like in my head, I'm just like, Richie, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to follow this lead that I feel that God has called me. And then, year 2, we did double revenue. We're getting more work. And so, but the pockets was still thin, man. And then.
And no one knows this.
No, man, no.
It's just that you and Tiff.
Yeah, and a lot of it was investment too. I probably was making decisions that can help grow the company, where I was giving deals where I could and just over exerting myself to excellence and being, a good price point at the time and not overcharge. I'm not saying I've ever overcharged, but I had to grow into that value, and I understood that, and just integrity and things. So, yeah, man, it was the first 3 years financially, it was so hard. And in year 3, when we really realized what we have to pay to continue and to be at the level we're trying to operate, man, it was exhausting. And I'm swinging hammer all day. So physically, every day I'm like beat. Mentally, I'm beat. I'm doing estimates. And I know a lot of tradesmen, owners go through this, man. They're just a lot to juggle. You have the gas bill you got to pay for your truck, just driving all over the place to pick up materials, to go visit houses for estimates. And that's where all my money was going. Yeah. It was going to just drive around, man.
It seems like there's a lot of, it's funny because what I'm imagining in my head is like, how the Titanic, the boat, and they see like icebergs. It just seems like there's a bunch of icebergs just popping up, and it's like, how do you steer, with all of these things?
Yeah, it was, I was Peter, man. I was Peter, and I was just ready to wash nets, man. After 3 years of that exhaustion, and then on top of that, my wife's working 2 to 3 jobs. I barely seeing her. Our relationship was getting strained. Kids, my children were, going through some hard times, and it was hard to be present for them because I'm in survival. That was it, man. If I had to use a word, I was in survival mode. Even though I was running a company, being an entrepreneur, I wasn't doing it for this like excitement, even though there was excitement added to it. It was just survival mode, following a leading and trusting. So when it wasn't, I believe like when you look at it from an outside view, you're like, wow, this is fruitful. There's like jobs coming in. God blessed us with all these tools to kickstart, in the story there where God just overwhelmingly blessed us with tools to kickstart this. The timing of when we started it, the name, All Things New. I mean, everything was the 5-star reviews we're getting. It was like everything made sense, and it was fruitful in that matter. But behind the scenes, man, it was like I was taking lickings.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, man.
I remember searching you guys up one time, and the 5-star reviews, it was pouring in, like you said.
I think we hit like 30 5-star reviews. Yeah. And we were Yelp. I mean, Yelp was even like emailing us, sending us certificates like, man, y'all's hot. Like, and it's like, the value was there. The delivery of quality was there. Everything was there except for money in my pocket.
I was going to say, everything was there. 5-star reviews are there. But at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. There was no fish in my net, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everyone can say, man, Peter, you're a hard worker, man. Like they can rant and rave and say, man, you're doing awesome. Your guys' boat, your team, I love everything about it. But the reality is Peter and his wife probably were getting into some challenges just because he wasn't bringing in the funds, fish were being caught. And so, I just empathized and connected with this story, like really thinking about what he was going through and whatnot.
At what time did you seriously consider, hey, maybe this isn't something, was it a fluke, or is this something we should hang up? Or
yeah, in going into 2015, I think right before 2015, I was just having some conversations with my wife's brother-in-law, Randy, and he had a construction business as well. He just got an ABC license, and a lot of what we were doing, I couldn't get us to the next level to charge what we needed to charge because I didn't have a license. So we're doing mostly like handyman renovation work, kitchen and bath, refreshes and things like that, but nothing where I had my experience of building something from scratch. like the kitchens and baths and flooring and paint, man, that was like
Light
baby
work.
food, man.
Light
Like,
work.
yeah, it was like, why I think we were so successful at it, because I could do it in my sleep. So the work itself wasn't the stressful part. It was like, okay, how do I get traction? How do I turn this into a profitable business? How do I, like get this thing to scale and grow? And how do we fulfill the mission that God has put on our heart at the same time without like decoursing? So, I was talking with Randy. He had his ABC license at the time. And so it was like, look, man, the work is there, like I'm getting the calls. That was the thing, that if I wasn't getting the calls, totally different story, right?
Yeah.
Like God was showing us that, the opportunity is there. It's just, it was just getting into a place of accountability and responsibility of like how to handle these opportunities. And so I just, transferred what I could to and partnered with him and his company. And he wanted to start a new building company that I could, help lead from internally. And so we partnered with them for a year, but we left all things new open and alive and still running with really just not operating out of it, just kind of this entity just chilling for like a year.
Yeah.
So that was what was happening in 2015.
After, I'm assuming that was successful in a sense, and there was a time that you would have to have left that company or that partnership, right? Was there a reason, or what was the reason or tipping point of like, hey, I think we're healthy again?
Through that year, I gave my all to serving versus leading, in a sense. So serving his company, whatever I could. But there was just a strong pull on me, man, that just was like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to hang up your hat, Richie. I felt so many failures in my life, and I felt like I failed when I didn't make it pro in sports. I felt like I failed when, I left the Navy with an anxiety disorder and didn't actually finish my 4 years. It was like right there, man, and I didn't finish it. And so here I am again, where I felt this sense of failure coming in, but I think I'm just like Peter. I just empty myself and ready to hang my hat. And so here I am, man, just spending a year, and I felt like we were thriving. It was profitable. I think I was doing awesome. I mean, from my view, hopefully Randy had the same view, but I just felt like to make that decision to move over, it had to be some kind of like miracle pull or something. But there was something pulling at me, Ray. And I just remember, feeling like I can't do this alone. Like I felt so alone, and I needed God to go with me. And I think the story of Peter was that he had emptied the boat, got everything out. Can you imagine just like an end of a day working, clear the whole boat out, took the net out, cleaned it up, probably tying the rope so the boat doesn't go anywhere, or pulled on shore, and it's fully empty. And that's when Jesus came. That's when Jesus walked up to Peter and said, "Hey, can I use your boat, man?" And Peter's like, "What do you mean? I got these guys here I'm preaching to on the land, and I have a better positioning of myself if I get on your boat and stand and talk to them, and we could just put it out a little bit." Peter was probably like, "Man, what else I got to lose? Cool." So he pushed it out, and that really resonates with my story because, I was in a place where I had to empty my boat, my vessel being me, and I totally gave up everything. And I think God wanted me to have that heart. And he wanted me to empty, being like, "Richie, are you okay to give up the company? Number one, hang up the hat. Are you ready to just like let me run the show and stand on the boat, or are you going to keep doing it on your own?" And that's where I was doing it on my own. I was doing all this stuff on my own. And, people were applauding, and I helped encourage, and yeah, awesome. That's a good, nice picture. It's a good project. But inside, man, like in what, financially, the profit margins just weren't there to survive what we needed to survive on in Hawaii. So, and with the kids we had, 4 kids. And so it just was really challenging. So just being like Peter, man, and just saying, here, that's what 2015 was for me. Jesus, here's my boat, man. Like, I want you to have it. It's going to sit right there. You can stand on it, do whatever you want to do. it's all you. I got nothing left. And that's what it was.
Talk about the two boats portion.
Yes. So when I was feeling that tug and pull, it was there, and just kind of letting Jesus have my boat, and basically that just means I invited him into my space and just allow me to serve or lead, whatever he wants, I'm there. And so, while we were, partnered, Tiffany was able to come in and do a little bit of help. I think before I was there, or while I was there, I can't clearly remember like her positioning, but she was trying to help Tiffany being my wife. And she was looking for some programs that would help us manage things better and kind of administratively bring things together. And so I think she saw I was looking too and whatnot. So we're, sharing some stuff back and forth. But she had found this one program. I think it was called Builder Trend, and not promoting them, saying everybody should go use Builder Trend. But at the time in 2015, when she did a lot of research and found this program, and she was like, hey, you need to look at this program. And I was just like, pride, or I don't know what it was. I was like,
yeah,
I don't think that's going to work, but yeah, I'll look at it. And then, she broke it down, all the things it could do. I mean, just structurally, I was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like, it's like when Jesus said to Peter, hey, you've been putting your net down here in the shallow waters this whole time. He says, go out to the deeper waters and put out your net. And then Peter was like, man, we already tried that, yeah. But because you said, I'll go do that. And that's how I felt in that moment, man, was like, honey, I've looked at all these programs, but if you want me to look at it, what else might, I guess, So I'll look at it. And so when I was looking at this, man, it was probably the same moment as Peter, when all the multitude of fish started filling the net, and probably was like in shock. That's how I felt when I looked at this program. It was like this entrepreneurial scaling genius dude just went boop in my head. I never had that before. And that's not any credit to Richie or myself, or something I've learned or something I've gained. It was God downloading fish, a multitude fish in my head. And he just showed me what I can do with the multitude of fish and how to catch them and how to serve them. And this program was showing me how to scale. That's the word. I never knew even the word scale before. Like, what does scale mean? I don't know. Scales on fish? No, scale means grow the company to levels that are sustainable and continue to grow. And I just seen it. I was like, oh my gosh, this program, I didn't even know there was a such thing. And here I am, a baby to this. There's probably people out there like, yeah, man, that's what we use. But me, new into the game, I was like, wow, there's an integrating lead system. So when you get phone calls, you can have this, you can do data on how they, the response levels, temperature levels, and the price values and gauges, and then they can transfer into a job. You can job number, boom, and it's all like on this app. Homeowner has access to this. There's transparency. I just started seeing like growth, the transparency growth with clients trusting us and aligning with everything we wanted to do. I saw that you can upload pictures and daily logs and tag people. You could put employees. You can bring in subcontract. It was like this all-in-one hub in 2015. We're talking 10 years ago. That's a game changer, right? Because that's nowadays we're probably like, there's a lot of programs, but not back then. Yeah. This was in its infancy, just showing surface. And so I knew that there was no one on the island that had this or anything like this. And I knew we were just about to be set. It was like I had a multitude of fish just going to into my head. And that was the moment, man. I was like, Jesus, what are you doing? Like, do you want me to go back? Like, I was trying to share this with Randy and them, and they were on board, but I don't think they were ready to scale or go that. They could tell. I think they could tell there was a different vision all of a sudden, you know, and so when it came close to December, and I told them when we started, I want to give it a year. So I fulfilled the year. I think I had that revelation sometime in August, but when it came, I talked to Tiffany and I told her that, look, I feel like we have our own vision. that God just downloaded and always had a vision for us since we started. And I said, you know, but I need you. I feel like I have a vision now.
Yeah.
And I shared it with her, and she at the time she had a job that she loved, man. She was working at the airport. She was growing in her position. I mean, they were offering her, you know, to continue to grow. They're recognizing how powerful she was. And then here I am. I'm her husband, her best friend. I'm starting to recognize how powerful she is too. And I'm like, you know, this job she had with Alaska Airlines, she could, you know, jump on a plane and go to Japan and eat lunch first class, come back, and, you know, no cost considered. So she was not going to give that up. So I was just like, I just had this like really heart to heart one-on-one with her, and just like, look, I know you're a beast. I know that if you can handle the administrative back end of the operations and somebody just controlling that side of things, and then I can focus on what I do best with, you know, sales and certain things. And then I believe we can really grow. And I have people still calling, because I got the ATN just kind of chilling. They're just still calling, man. Like, we're getting emails and phone calls, and it's like, I think we could like hone these in and plug them and actually serve them and just keep growing. And I see it, you know. I was like super excited and passionate, and I knew it was time, and I knew it. And she was just like, nah, I like my job, you know. She says, I got to pray for it. And I was like, I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but I offered a bonus, like a starting bonus, anything I could to just like try to convince her in. But, you know, God put it on her heart, and she did it, man. She quit all her jobs and she went full force. And we both agreed that I needed to go full force for my license for God really to open the doors. And so it wasn't about the program or anything like that. It was more about just, I think, a season of, you know, being exhausted and clocking out and washing the nets, and Jesus, you know, was speaking through my wife to give. It was like my wife said, hey, go, you know, throw the nets out in the deep. Here's a program, try this. And I, you know, in that moment just really connected with that story. And it was a moment where I realized I needed a partner, you know, and I needed a partner in the physical sense, like somebody to be on that journey with me, you know, and to just speak even more into that. Like, if you look at like the biggest visionaries, Walt Disney had Iceworks, right? And I didn't even know, like, a lot of people think that Walt Disney
was just on his own, or
well, yeah, and he was the artist of Mickey Mouse, but he wasn't. It was Iceworks. I think he used to sit in the office and do like 600 drawing frames a day to create animations back then. And Walt Disney was the visionary to say, man, let's try to turn this into something. And I think Iceworks put together this whole animation before the Steamboat Mickey, and that was the first like moving animation cartoon. But then, you know, Disney had the idea to put music with it. And then when they showed it to the public, everyone's like, whoa, cartoons, you know? And so it just kind of blew up from there. And so there's just, you know, so many people that had that second boat, you know. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak, you know, the master of the machine. And people like Martin Luther King had Ralph Abernathy. Lecrae had Ben Washer. If you don't know these people, just go look them up, man. It's like Lecrae was, you know, one of the probably the best, I don't know, best is the right word, but most successful Christian hip hop artist, and he had Ben Washer there to do things administratively. So I think every visionary has a somebody who can implement and execute, right? And so Tiffany's a visionary too. Don't get me wrong. She brought so many amazing ideas, but I just needed somebody to partner with me in that moment. And so that was the the game-changing moment, I think, for ATN. And that's when we started ATN. See, we used to be All Things New, and now we started a new entity with a license called ATN.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's when ATN birthed, was 2016, and we, brought the name in All Things New, doing business as All Things New. So we integrated them together.
Yeah. So funny, because when I was reading that portion, I was like, yo, don't do it, Tiff.
Don't do it. Continuing on the 2 boats, and the reason why it was like, here's the message, man, for people watching. Not saying people can't do it on their own, and not saying that every business, your wife or your husband needs to be a partner, but I do believe in Moses needed Aaron, then people are like, what about Jesus? Well, Jesus needed John the Baptist. It's like God had always had in mind for us to have a partner. That's why there's probably marriage. That's why one of the most successful business owners of all time, Solomon, said, when 2 are together, I forget what he says. He says
the prophet is bigger, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's where in the story, and why I reference 2 boats is because the amount of fish was so many that they needed the second boat to come grab the fish.
Hey, come on.
And so to bring it back, they needed that. And that's what I call overflow, man. Is like, and, a lot of people, look at overflow or think of it as this like super blessing in your life. I've heard it preached from prosperity preachers about, hey, overflow. If you do this, this, and this, like it's a process to get overflow. But the word overflow, I used to not really like saying it because of that context, But if I were to like share what it means in the sense and the context of the 2 boats, and what it means to me is like, God says that he gives to a cheerful giver. He gives to a cheerful giver. So he is going to pour into you if you like to pour into people, and so overflow is exactly what it is. If I have a cup and you pour water into it and you get to the brim, what happens if you're still pouring water into it? What does it do?
It
right?
overflows.
It overflows. That's what overflow is. Do you think God's going to overflow you and waste some water? Answer that, right? No. Yeah. So when we think of overflow as a selfish, personal, survival thing, or success, or overblessing, God's not going to do that, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you straight up, God's not going to overflow you and waste water. He stewards, man.
Let's go.
He stewards. So 2 boats is when you bring another cup over to the cup, and what happens now when it overflows?
It fills the other cup.
Fills the other cup. And then if that cup lets another cup come, what happens?
You feel that?
So what happens to the one feeding the water? He keeps it running. So overflow is exactly what happened to us. Was we had the heart to give. We had the heart to serve. We had that heart to pour into others. And when I brought Tiffany on, that was the whole juncture of that time in our business and our lives. Was God was saying, Richie, I want to overflow you, but I can't do it unless you bring the second boat next to you. Like I'm ready to like bless you with so much fish you can't even handle, but those fish can't be wasted. I need them to come to shore. Can you imagine if they had 3 boats or 4 boats or 5 boats? So my point is the positioning, the repositioning of my heart and understanding what God was doing and positioning me to have a second boat. And then as we scale, bring in more boats. Who are we going to pour into? Bringing in, employees, subcontractors, anybody we could to allow the overflow happen. And that's what overflow is. It's not to bless you. It's to fill you and bless you, but to overflow and bless others as well. So it's 2-pronged. And so when we look at it like that, and you're a vessel like Peter and empty your boat so you can be filled.
That's so good, bro.
That's 2 boats, man.
2 boats.
And that's where me and Tiffany's journey started and grew, and our positioning of our hearts and mine personally when we started that. Teams and people our assets, man. And I don't mean just like to devalue them personally or anything like that, but as a business owner, man, just knowing that, you know, more people, the better. You know, more people, the better. There are strategies not to hire too many too soon, but if you're in a place where you can hire or bring somebody or partner with somebody, it can help scale because you need people to grow. You know, Apple doesn't run on just Steve and Steve at the time. You know, they ended up hiring thousands and thousands of people, you know, and so that's part of growth is understanding in order for that flow to happen, you just need more cups.
That's good. But that requires for you to put down your pride.
It does.
In thinking
Mm-hmm.
that you can do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's about it for today, guys. Right before we close, Richie, here's the verse: two are better with the greatest businessman, Solomon.
Yes.
Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor.
Yes.
Teams is good.
Yeah.
So it says, if one falls, another one lifts him up.
That's huge, man. It's you know, not the saying falls will come, but we're all trip. You know, like we all trip, and just to know that somebody's there to catch you. You know, falling alone sucks. You know, like you've ever done that?
That's a t-shirt, bro. That's a
falling
t-shirt.
alone sucks. That is a shirt, because you know, you could fall, break your back, phone like flies out, and you can't even go get it, and it's like you're just laying there, man. I see that in the movies. I just feel so bad for them, man. It's like, but yeah, falling alone sucks.
I'm thinking about it now, like when you do fall alone, it's like you have to wait for the pain to go away. And then you can get up to go call the police.
Yeah.
What if someone's there, man? Right away.
I used to have this friend, every time he fell, he
Wait. How much times does this guy fall?
a lot. But he would his name's Ryan. Ryan, he's hilarious. He's like the Jim Carrey of my life, man. He's just hilarious, dude. But every time he fell, he would lay there like he's dead. Like every single time. Like just complete dead. And so some falls would be very dramatic. We used to climb roofs and stuff when we were a kid. He'd fall off the roof and he'd just lay there like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, is he joking or is this real?
Is this a comical decision? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's definitely, thank God. Yeah. He's, he would do the full on body numb dead. And he would try to pick up his arm and everything, just full on every time. He's so good at it. Yeah. Breathing stopped and everything. He just like, it was like his thing, right?